Welcome to What's in the Pot. I'm your host, Sean Grande, and today we're making mustard fried chicken and shrimp. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It's What's in the Pot. Welcome to What's in the Pot. I'm your host, Sean Grande. To start our mustard fried chicken, I'm using 6 pieces of chicken, some legs and thighs. I'm going to be using some of this Tonys Creole seasoning, some Trinidad green seasoning, and obviously mustard. So let's start seasoning our meat first. So we're going to start with a little bit of mustard, about maybe 2 teaspoons of mustard. Once we season it with the mustard, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that mustard coating gets coated all over the chicken. Once we've coated the chicken with the mustard, we're going to start adding the rest of our seasoning. Now I'm adding this green seasoning mixture. So it's my typical Trinidad green seasoning mixture. You can use any kind of green seasoning. Even if you have fresh ones, you can go ahead and use that. I'm using about maybe 2 to 3 teaspoons of the Tonys Creole seasoning, and we're going to give that a good mix. What we want to do is we want to make sure all the chicken is completely seasoned. Every piece of chicken is coated with that green seasoning and that Tonys Creole seasoning mixture. You can see here, every piece is coated, that nice green seasoning, that fresh shadow benny flavors coming out through a chicken, mixed in with that mustard and that Creole seasoning. Now for our shrimp, it's going to be similar ingredients, but I'm not going to be using the green seasoning. I'm going to be using about a teaspoon of mustard, about half a teaspoon of the Creole seasoning, and about a teaspoon of this Badia Complete seasoning. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing it the same way. Make sure every piece of shrimp is covered and coated with our seasoning mix. Next thing we're going to do is create our seasoning for our batter and for our flour mixture. So I'm starting with 2 tablespoons of Badia Complete seasoning, about half a teaspoon of black pepper. You can use any kind of black pepper, using a coarse ground black pepper. And I'm also going to be adding some all-purpose seasoning. Now I'm using the cheap brand all-purpose seasoning, but if you have a different brand of all-purpose seasoning, go ahead and use that. And about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit, half a teaspoon of cayenne powder, just give it a little bit of extra kick. And obviously a little bit more of this Tonys Creole. Not too much, but we want to give that a good mix to get all the flavors kind of incorporated together. Now we're going to create our batter for our chicken. So the first thing we're going to start with is 2 cups of flour, which I already have in the bowl, and I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder and almost 2 teaspoons, about 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch. Now I'm going to add some turmeric. I learned this from Rashmi on her channel, from her fried chicken video that we did the collaboration. She added a little bit of turmeric to give that chicken a nice yellow color. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. I'm going to put a link below so you can see Rashmi's video. Now with our mixture that we made previously, we're going to be using half of that in our batter and the other half will be in our dry mixture. So just whip those dry ingredients together. Once we whip them together, what we're going to add is 2 eggs. After we add our eggs, we're going to be adding some sparkling water. Now in the video, I used maybe about 1 cup, but essentially I added a little bit more because I wanted that texture of like a pancake batter. What the sparkling water does, it adds that extra crispiness and fluffiness to the batter. So when you fry the chicken, it's going to be nice and fluffy. So you can see this is the batter here. What we want to do is we want to mix it until it's nice and smooth, until we get this nice pancake batter mixture. And for our seasoned flour, I'm using the remainder of that dry rub and mix it in with 2 cups of regular flour. So I have my wet batter, I have plain flour, and I have my seasoned flour. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start taking the shrimp, and we're gonna take 1 shrimp first, dip it in just plain regular flour, and that's about 1.5 cups of just plain regular flour. And then I'm going to be dipping it in our batter. Once we dip it in our batter, then we're going to go ahead and dip it in our seasoned flour mixture that we created. And then you can see our perfectly battered shrimp there, getting ready to go in the fryer. I have my oil set to about a medium-high heat. There's our shrimp there. And if you notice, some of the batter is just showing on the shrimp. Just dip it back in a little bit of flour and then throw it back into the fryer. And we want to let these fry maybe about 5 minutes and give it a nice quick flip once you have them frying. And we'll take them out when they're nice and golden brown. And this is maybe about after 5 or 6 minutes of frying our shrimp. It's nice and golden brown in color. Looks absolutely crispy and crunchy. Now for our chicken, we're going to be doing the same method. First, we're going to dip it in a bowl of just plain regular flour. Then once we dip it in that flour, get it nice and coated, we're going to be dipping it in our batter mixture. And once we dip it in our batter, drain out all that extra batter and just coat it with our seasoned flour. Make sure it gets a nice, good, heavy coating of our seasoned flour because that's gonna add extra flavor to our chicken. As you can see here, this is what our chicken's gonna look like once you coat it with the flour, the batter, and the regular flour. Let's go ahead and season the rest of these, and then we're gonna start frying our chicken. So I added some cayenne and a little bit of black pepper to my flour mixture. If you notice the chicken, some pieces, because I seasoned all and then I was gonna start frying them, some pieces the batter kind of was being exposed and the flour mixture was kind of coming off. So what I did was I went ahead and added a little bit more seasoning to the mixture and just dipping the chicken back into the flour one more time, and then we're gonna go ahead and drop it in the oil. The oil is set to a medium-high heat, so it's the same oil that we use for the shrimp. So the oil is already nice and hot, so the chicken's gonna get nice and crispy. Now I'm frying my chicken approximately 8 to 9 minutes each side because the chicken is really big. But once we fry them to about 8 to 9 minutes each side, you want to check for the internal temperature to be approximately 165 degrees Fahrenheit. That means your chicken is cooked. You can see the chicken looks absolutely crispy and crunchy. That nice crunch that you get if you're gonna get Popeyes or KFC's extra crispy chicken. It looks delicious. Here's a look at our final product, our mustard fried shrimp and chicken. This shrimp is absolutely beautiful. Look at that color, that nice golden color you get from the turmeric from our batter. And then our chicken is beautifully crunchy, that big pieces of crispy crunchiness that you see there. When you get takeout chicken, you know, you want to bite into it and you want to get that nice crunch. You can do this at home. It's simple, it's super easy. So thank you very much for tuning in to What's in the Pot. I'm your host, Sean Grande. Till next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on social media. It's What's in the Pot. Peace.